The Walt Disney Company has always wanted George Lucas to say something nice about their Star Wars movies. Oh my, how high would the box office fly if only George would say good things about Kathy and her crew making Star Wars movies anew. Unfortunately, it turns out George Lucas, while he may not enjoy Star Wars from Disney, he's a big fan of Wicked. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel that is changing hearts and minds this holiday season, simply by telling the truth and bringing you the good news, even after Christmas and into the new year. Folks, we ask that you click the like button as we go near a topic that may cause Disney some consternation, some holiday heartburn, if you will. It turns out that George Lucas is throwing praise upon their competitor, Wicked, the musical, getting all kinds of love from the guy who made his dough with a galaxy far, far away. Look, it's great. At least that's what George Lucas says about Wicked. And finally, folks, we now know what it looks like when George Lucas likes a movie. Pause and let that sink in. Compare the past with the Star Wars films and how George responded to this, a film that he does not have to say a single positive thing about. But here he is, shouting to the rooftops, he loves Wicked. Out of Variety by Zach Sharf, it says, George Lucas called Wicked director John M. Chu from the mall right after seeing the film to share praise. I know how hard it is to pull it all together. Guys, the only thing that's crazy to me about this title is that George Lucas went to see a movie at the mall. Like, George, do you not have like 17 home theaters at this point? You got to be at the mall? I would love to be at the mall and see George Lucas come walking in to see Wicked. That would be
stopped at the food court after he got done and had some French fries by himself. That's what the picture was, right?
I believe it. Wicked director John M. Chu recently told CBS Mornings that none other than Star Wars director George Lucas cold called him to rave about the blockbuster movie musical. Remember, folks, you've never heard this about a Star Wars movie, have you? Since debuting in theaters just ahead of Thanksgiving, Wicked has earned $571 million and counting at the worldwide box office. Lucas is a big fan. Now, I do want to note that $571 million is not sufficient, I believe, for all the hoopla around Wicked. Wicked has underperformed in its latter weeks on the box office charts. $571 million, I think, is about $200 million short of what they wanted to have by now. So this is not great. But George Lucas thinks it's great. And I, in spite of Cynthia Erivo, gave this film something like a 9 out of 10, I believe, a 9 out of 10. So I agreed, even though I'm not a person who enjoys musicals and this is not my forte, I can still rate something qualitatively where it lands in a 9 out of 10 is it. Going on, Mr. Chu said he was still at the mall where he'd just seen the movie. He couldn't have been more kind. He's like, I see all the elements in that movie. I know how hard it is to pull it all together. Chu added, it's so nice when you see leaders like that, creative leaders who actually reach out. I didn't know that happened and are just so kind and say, we're doing this together. So there you go, folks. George Lucas got on his BlackBerry, got on his Motorola, got on his Razor, sitting there, looked up John Chu while sitting at the food court eating French fries with ketchup and mayonnaise mixed together into a cute little sauce he calls special sauce, but we know it's Thousand Island. And he called John M. Chu so he was not alone on a lonely island, let him know how proud of him he was. Meanwhile, the poor folks at Lucasfilm, they got to drag him out there to get to be a part of a movie premiere. Guys, I think this is yet another example of what it looks like when things happen organically versus the way that Disney tries to orchestrate them. What say you, panel?
Well, you know, the thing about Wicked is people have been waiting for a Wicked movie for a very long time. And it obviously started out as Broadway, and they're doing half of it, and they're going to do the other half later. I've actually had to explain that to several family members over the last little while. This is something that is not a sequel or a prequel, but it's still familiar. So it's kind of in that IP familiarity zone, but it's still something very new. And John Chu is the kind of guy who's been in that space for a very long time, probably a big fan of Wicked. So the idea that this might have actually been something that came from the heart, they got a fan of the property to work on the property, and then they put a lot of work into it and then made a film. I'm not surprised for George Lucas to enjoy a film like that.
Culture, Ron, how much do you think Disney would like for George to do this just impromptu, make a phone call and say, John Favreau, you're doing so great. I love you. Love your work, man.
I'm sure that would be big news and great. No, go ahead, Culture.
No, I was just going to say, having something like that organically happen is a unique thing. I mean, we don't have a lot of creativity. We don't have a lot of quality conveyance of source material. Despite my lack of interest in this film or the second one, because they're going to double dip your pocketbook, kids. I think it was, a valiant artistic effort, and it being recognized by your peers has got to be something that's, in a point of, joy. But at the same time, Disney isn't creative enough to carry off quality adaptations of everything. We just watched an example of that with, a retread like Mufasa, or, a retread in Moana 2, which seems to be headed downhill quickly right now after 5 weeks in theaters, and so on and so forth. I think Disney would be lucky to bring out something original that people that would resonate with people, and in particular with your peers. I think it's so rare for Disney to do something like that, that we can't even imagine it now. I don't know. Maybe those are my thoughts.
Right. Even if someone were to praise them, it feels as if it's a corporate deal cut in a back room somewhere for that to happen.
Well, actually, it's what do you call it? It's on its face that it's a naked representation of false praise.
Ron, what do you have for this one? What do you say?
I'd like to point out that clearly, the director John M. Chu happens to be in his contacts list, so he can just pull his phone out and call him right away. It's very likely that he.
Ron, let's go back to the history books. The way that Variety reports it, I'm sure, is that George pulled out a Rolodex onto that food court mall table, sat it down, and flipped through until he found Chu, while he was chewing on those French fries, of course.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say it's a very good chance that he has Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger's numbers blocked on his phone at this point in time. And I don't think he would ever want to call into Disney to compliment them on anything that they've done because of the way that they have treated him. But the fact of the matter is, Wicked, I haven't seen the movie yet. Everything that I've seen about it looks visually stunning. There are 2 songs from the movie from Wicked that I enjoy, and those songs happen to be available on YouTube for free in their full. Now, so if I want to be entertained by the songs, and I think Arrivo does a fantastic job on Defying Gravity, although I like the original version much better. Ariana Grande's Popular is fairly much on the same scale as the original. But
Ron, let me ask you this. Let's be controversial. You want to be controversial? You look like Sam. Let's do it. Okay, here we go. I think that what they should have done with Wicked is brought Idina Menzel back and used AI or CGI to de-age her. I think she's one of the greatest vocalists of the past 30 or 40 years. I don't think she's missed a beat. And I think that they should have cast Ariana Grande, because here's where the controversy comes from. I think she's better than Chenoweth. I think Ariana Grande is better as Linda.
I mean, that's a, I don't see any controversy in that. That seems fair to me. I'm not sure that with makeup you would need to de-age. Why can't
Idina
Menzel?
I'm sorry. Are you trying to impersonate the John Travolta Santa today,
Yeah,
sir?
Adele Dazeem, right? Idina Menzel. No, I don't. If you use makeup right, you don't even need to de-age her, because if you look at the character as played by Cynthia Erivo, she already looks 20 years older. In the form that she's in. She's
38, playing a high schooler, going to college. Good Lord.
I mean, Ariana Grande is eternally youthful, clearly, but why not? I don't think with makeup you wouldn't have needed it. She's playing a green witch, for goodness sake. Why would that even matter? I don't understand necessarily the casting of this, and again, I haven't seen it, but my guess would be they're trying to aim toward that Gen Z audience, and that I don't know. Is Cynthia Erivo in anything besides being the Blue Fairy? I don't really know her history.
I don't know, but bottom line, Ron, George is a fan, and I'll guarantee you, because we've seen this before. When George goes and sees a new Star Wars movie, and he says, "Yeah, it was a Star Wars movie," and then Disney comes out with articles: George Lucas praises Kathleen Kennedy and the world of Star Wars to the heavens, and then it has that quote buried like the 18th paragraph down. They would love for George to praise them this way. Unfortunately, he's not getting underway with Star Wars praise anytime soon. And yet again, folks, we have come to the end. But what a video it has been, and we hope you agree. Folks, if you had a good time with us, consider clicking that like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment right on down below. We care about your thoughts. Folks, we also want to invite you to partake in ThatParkPlace.com. Of course, www. You get the idea. ThatParkPlace.com. It is the website telling the truth, and it is a rising star across the web for pop culture news coverage and analysis. Go over there and bookmark it today. Folks, we're bookmarking you as a great guest that we appreciate. Until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, folks, you better believe it, keep having fun.